My name is Chase McCormick, and I am terrible with money. Well, that's not true. I am really good at spending it. I'm a starving artist who no longer wanted to starve. I make paintings that nobody wants to look at, music that nobody wants to listen to, clothes that nobody wants to wear, and movies that nobody wants to produce. While I initially started working in finance to fund my creative endeavors, I quickly fell in love with my new role and company. I was selected to be the new social media and events coordinator at the most fun firm in finance. While I don't know much about finance, I've certainly developed an interest to start investing in my future. That's why I thought it would be exciting for me to sit down with financial experts at our company, because if they can teach it to me, they can teach it to you. Please remember that nothing we say here should be taken as personal advice. This conversation is for entertainment purposes only. If you have questions about your financial situation, please talk to a licensed financial advisor. Is Bitcoin just a COVID buzzword, or is it a legitimate wealth building tool?
Well, it was created well before the pandemic. Okay. So I wouldn't say that it's necessarily a buzzword, but when everyone was locked inside of their houses, they started trying to figure out how to make money online, right? And that's why everyone was kind of drawn to crypto and stock trading and the boom of Robinhood. There's a lot of crypto projects out there, thousands of them, right? And
Ethereum,
I would say 99% of them are probably worthless.
Nothing but trouble on my mind. That's the attitude that got my ass off the sidelines. You either ride pine and cry about playing time, or you play the game divine, apply the pain, and embrace the grind.
Welcome back to Finding Finance, and our first major update for this podcast is we've officially been greenlit by CEO Ross Gerber.
Let's go.
I think we're at episode 5. And really,
episode 6, I think.
True, episode 6. Because the goal was to do 5 episodes, and then
Counting would be hard, man.
Yeah.
Don't even get into words.
Words are, All right. Officially greenlit podcast, and the only way to celebrate that is to be having our biggest guest yet. Not only does he have director in the title, but he's Steve's boss. You met Steve last week. If that doesn't mean we're moving up in the world, I don't know what else could symbolize that. Major success. Who is Steve's boss? Well, Brett Sifling, also known as Bitcoin Brett, LMU legend, member of the Rotary Club, which I don't know what that means, lives in a penthouse overlooking the marina, and most importantly, giving me my first 100-inch plus TV to spray paint. How the hell are you doing, Brett?
Yeah,
good to have you on
this week.
I'm trying to get a car to borrow.
Can't wait to see it.
My boy John, you know VP John. I'm trying to borrow the car. I think I'm gonna bribe him with Wolfpack tickets tonight.
Why don't you just bribe him in Bitcoin?
Crushed. Well, yeah, I own Bitcoin. If you want to donate me some Bitcoin, and then I'll give it to John, then that could be good. But I think it's expensive, right? I was actually gonna look up how much a Bitcoin's worth, but we'll do that later.
You should just focus on getting what's called a Satoshi. I think that's like 0.01 of Bitcoin.
Okay. Satoshi.
It's just a smaller denomination of Bitcoin that people give a nickname to because, like you said, Bitcoin's north of $60,000 a coin.
Woo!
A little expensive right now, right?
I'm pulling up my bank statement.
I've been following it, since it was a couple $100. So it's been a wild ride.
Damn.
And the nice thing is
Bitcoin
you don't
Brett
have to buy an entire one. You can just buy 0.01 of a Bitcoin, $60 or whatever the math is.
And that's called Satoshi.
Satoshi.
Oh,
Nakamoto.
sashimi, or that's different.
Sashimi is
different.
Sushi. Satoshi is this ominous character. No one knows if he exists. No one knows if it's his real name. But he has been credited. I could be. Could be.
Brand.
People have said it's Elon Musk. That's a popular theory. But no one knows who it is, and he's the creator of it. People have tried to figure it out. People have made claims to it, like Craig Wright. who, is kind of a joke and lost the lawsuit. But yeah, it's no one knows who created it.
Well, sounds like kind of a broke coin to me, but I'll think about getting me some. All right. Well, first thing we always do on here, let's look through my financial situation, calculate my net worth. Bank account's looking pretty good, Alex. We got payday coming up Friday, right?
I hope so.
Should be. All right. I'm going to do this math right now. 781 plus 538. That's $1,319. Not bad. Not bad at all. Now we got to check the credit card statement, which I think I did pretty good because I prepaid it with the last paycheck. This whole paycheck is going to be for $2,000, and that's going to go $1,500 to my rent. Then I've got a big dry cleaning bill, which I've been holding off, but that's going to be about $100. I've got 8 shirts just been sitting there since last paycheck. So that's going to be another $100. Haven't paid electric. So basically my whole next paycheck will go to bills, but prepaid half my credit card off last time. So I'm at about $1,000, but the next payment is only going to be $750. So I think I can swing that.
I believe in you.
And I don't know exactly what's up with my contributions, though. Is that a question for Mia or Alex? You're my second advisor.
Why don't you fill in, Brett, on what you just did a couple episodes ago?
Okay. Doubled my contributions.
Let's go.
Pretty good, right? Pretty good. So
you got to, didn't you get a little raise too?
Yeah, you heard about that?
I heard about that.
Not supposed to talk about the raise.
Okay.
I actually wrote down, don't talk about the raise, ... yet. So I was hoping someone would bring it up. I don't know if it was going to be Alex or what, but stay tuned for next episode. We're going to be finding finance in a whole new way. Let's go. Your boy's getting rich. Looking over my finances, done. Bottom line is we're making it. And how much did I have in my retirement? $4,000?
Something like that.
And we found out last time that part of my retirement accounts are actually not retirement. They're called brokerage.
Why don't you have Brett tell you what you have?
You probably have the non-retirement account. So
I'll have
regular brokerage account.
Regular brokerage, right?
Yeah. So that you can access that at any time. You don't need to wait till the 59.5-year-old rule. But you don't get any tax advantages.
Is it worth it? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Should have it.
And I'll tell you, Steve did a good job explaining that. And you're training him well.
That's what we do.
He really taught me some things about brokerage and pet insurance too. You know about pet insurance?
Try not to because I'm not getting a dog anytime soon. So.
Nice.
House then dog. That's the goal.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You could have the little dog just live on your roof though.
Yeah, we could, but gone too much.
Plus, I almost fell off that roof, so came pretty close.
He was safe.
Don't talk about your raise. Got that. Considered my upcoming bills and expenses. Good. I wrote down concert too. We did have a little concert party Sunday night.
How about you fill him in on all the episodes? What have you done so far?
Yeah, so you talked to Steve. Who else have you talked to?
Z. You know Z, right?
Ziyad, great man.
Yeah, Big Z.
Big foodie. Yep.
Ate a bunch of food with the Big Z man.
I think I had some leftovers from that.
Did you have some?
Yeah.
Cone broccoli, huh?
Awesome.
Yeah. That sausage pasta was good. Barbecue chicken pizza was good. Even the veggie pizza kind of surprised me, which it was exciting. It was kind of a big moment.
We just went to 4 now, and Z's on first name basis with the
Soren
guy now. Yeah.
Oh man, it's insane that it took him that long.
I know he had it all ready, and it's just nice being a little regular there.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, once you've gone with Ross a few times, then you'll get to that level. But
there are clients too.
Yeah. Episode 6, and we've got the Bitcoin man here. This is our biggest get yet, besides Mia, obviously. But next to that, this is our second director. And not as only is it director of marketing, but it's director of Get Invested. I'm a client. And you might have learned this from Steve 2 weeks ago. Get Invested is this unbelievable program for people like me and you. And because we're fiduciary, we work with people at all asset levels to get them invested and to change their financial future. Because we invest in people just as much as we invest in companies. Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah. I mean, get invested is
Pretty good.
my pride and joy.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up very rich and want to help people get started. And that's what Get Invested's all about, giving people a chance for a better future, build wealth, and find finance just like you are.
Wow. Maybe Get Invested should sponsor this podcast.
Good. We'll
And-
start off with the TV.
Yeah. Sold. You guys should be excited for this TV. Impromptu concert was fun.
You got off
We
track
made it
again.
backstage. We'll get it there. I mean, this is just the intro. So.
You're going back to, you were telling me what the other guests were. You got to you got to Z.
Oh yeah, and Z. I was gonna say we're gonna be talking a lot about rates today. By the way,
Rates?
yeah, because you know it. What's his name? Glenn Powell or
Jerome Powell.
Jerome Powell, Mr. Fed himself. First rate cut of the cycle. I read about it. I even wrote it down somewhere. I'm not there yet, but
Who else did you have on besides Z?
had Z on, and then Jimmy. And what did we even talk about with Jimmy?
Waymo?
Waymo Jimmy, yeah. And Jimmy's been driving Waymos. Me and Jimmy freestyle rapped in a Waymo on Friday too. So that was fun.
Then you had Mia.
Markets with Mia.
Well, yeah, obviously the best episode was with Mia. But honestly, and I don't want to portray my own insecurities on this podcast, but it is kind of what it's about. That was a hard episode for me. And I got in my feels after that episode because, a lot of what this whole podcast is about me taking ownership for my financial situation. And, got hit pretty hard that day. And it's kind of like when I think the hardest part about it just felt like Mia and Alex weren't necessarily proud of me. And even, I'll be honest, it felt like Mia and Alex were disappointed in me.
Aw.
And it hurt. I'll be honest. I went home. And what was nice, though, is they took me out to happy hour. Jimmy came too, and we got a couple drinks. But once you have a couple drinks and then your friends leave and then you go home, it's like you get sadder,
It's a depressant.
I'm like, now I'm depressed and I'm on depressants. So then I got really in my feels, but I was okay because I think it was necessary. And like I said, I've been saving some more money now. I've got $1,200. That could be good.
Hey, you should never really feel bad about your financial situation at your age because you have more than what most people have, and that's time. Time beats money, right?
Nice.
So
talk more about that. What should I be excited about?
You're rich in time. You're talking about rates and all these things like Bitcoin and compounding interest, and that's exactly what you have.
We talk a lot about compound interest too, and this is the thing: double my contributions, you're essentially doubling the compound interest.
Yeah. Every time you get a raise, you should be increasing your contributions.
I know.
We call it here pay yourself first.
Yeah.
Just like you just lined up your other bills with your rent and your electricity and everything else. Just treat your investment account like a bill. What's real fun is if you do the math on what that contribution will grow into, and let's call it 40 years in your retirement account. So think of it like, that, let's call it that, $100 may grow into, $3,000 or whatever it may be over the course of your career. So don't think of it like you're putting in 100. Think of it like you're giving your future self $3,000 just by doing that every single month.
I might have to double my contributions again. Okay. Yeah. And that's the thing is Mia was trying to break this down for me. She's like, you want to retire with this amount of money, you want to spend this much money, which, by the way, she totally lowballed me. I'm going to be spending way more than $200,000 a year when I'm
lifestyle
fucking 70.
creep is real.
Yeah, no,
Once
I
you
know.
start making more money.
Yeah, Mia called me a life
meals.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I moved to Santa Monica, got this job, got rich, started acting different. I'm talking bottles of wine that are more than $20. I think on Sunday I bought a bottle for $50. with a little tip money, with some tax. I was
you
like,
must have been on a date.
I must have been on one. Yeah.
Can I see, Chase, if you can tell Brett what every account is that you have?
I know. I don't want to do that. We talked about it. We talked about it.
But do you know?
I've got 2 Roths, Roth 401k, Roth IRA, and then I've got a SEP IRA.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
And I've got index funds though, growth American funds.
You've probably got a non-retirement.
I've got 3, right?
A Roth.
I think I've got
and a Roth 401k.
Yeah, I've got 3, and 2 of them are Roth, and then one Steve taught me is non-retirement, like you just said. People always keep saying I have a non-retirement account. I don't know what that is actually.
It's like a brokerage account.
Yes, sir.
What do I call the non-retirement?
Maybe we get you a 4th after this and buy you some Bitcoin.
Let's go! Yeah, Bitcoin Dennis. Bitcoin Dennis.
You know, it's actually a lot easier now to even buy, too. You could just buy the ETF in your account.
Really? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that was one of my questions. So I got Sensori here. We'll do a comma ETF. Oh, I also was going to...
Sensori?
Sashimi. No, it's not sashimi, bro. Satoshi. And then I was going to talk about the new headphones. I don't know if viewers, I don't know if you noticed. Got the new headphones. Just wanted to flex them real quick.
They're pretty sweet.
They're sick, right? And you should have seen my last one. Those are my home headphones that I've made like two albums using them.
Nothing but trouble on my mind. That's the attitude that got my ass off the sidelines. You either ride pine and cry about playing time, or you play the game divine, apply the pain, and embrace the
I'm glad they
grind.
made it on for the first couple episodes, but you guys see, it's lifestyle creep. I'm a boss up. Same with this podcast. The more we boss up, the nicer we're gonna get. We might even have a third camera where I'm like, hey, talking to that guy over there. Like, you know, I like to pan around the room, talk to this guy, talk to this guy. Sometimes I talk to Brett. I look at Alex a lot, but I don't know. At one point we had that overhead camera too. Remember that, Alex?
Yeah, but that was sort of unnecessary.
Okay, well, I thought it was cool, but I was gonna ask about your elbow. Is that doing good?
Yeah, it's not broken.
Not broken.
Just deep bone bruise.
Deep bone bruise.
Internal bone bleeding, which sounds a lot worse than it is.
Yeah. And then my other question, just as we're kind of starting the intro, do we need to do another intro, or you think that was good so far, Alex?
You're still doing the intro, and it's 27 minutes in.
Well, yeah.
I think you're good.
Do you think you want to just talk about Bitcoin the whole time, or?
I'm kind of waiting for that.
Oh, we should talk about your poker too. Brett's a professional poker player.
I'm not a professional. Poker and markets actually have a lot in common because they're both metagames, right? So, like,
and what is meta?
If there's this thing in game theory where you can still make the correct decision, but still not profit from it, which is kind of like investing, right? Not every investment you have is going to make money. There's naturally going to be losing investments. And you can still make the correct decision, but it may not pan out that time.
The correct decision. Yeah.
Right. So same thing in poker. You can make the great decision. You have a great hand, but maybe you get, screwed on the river.
Yeah.
Right? So over time, though, long periods of times, tens of thousands of hands, long time with investing.
Yeah.
You can still have an edge there because you're making the correct decision over and over and over and over again. And so it might not work out in the short term, over the long run it does.
And isn't this an even greater metaphor for life, right?
Yeah, it's exactly. There's markets is just one kind of consciousness of human behavior if you really think about it.
Yeah, completely. I mean, making a lot of good decisions over time will help you. And that's what my mom told me, and I think it's true. You got quoted in Forbes this week, so we'll talk about that later. But
twice.
And to your other point we were talking about with investing, I was gonna save this question for later. But is Bitcoin like market like profit loss the same as just like any other investment, where basically it just depends how much other people are buying, whether your investment goes up or down?
Well, it's not really an investment in a company, right? So like normally when we invest in companies, we have a way to measure them, right?
Yeah.
So you can say, okay, Apple's going to sell a certain amount of iPhones this year, which makes a certain amount of revenue. Because of its growth, we assign it a certain metric to get a valuation, right? There's a way to measure cash flow. With Bitcoin, unfortunately, no one really knows what the correct price for Bitcoin is because there is no cash flow.
Blockchain,
There's nothing
right? Is that blockchain?
Yeah. That's the technology that's underlying.
Okay.
But there's no cash flow or way to measure what a Bitcoin is worth. So kind of think of it more like gold or a commodity in a sense, where there's a finite supply of gold, right? There's only so much that we've dug out of the earth.
So there's a finite supply and it can be mined on the blockchain, yet also with gold, we don't actually know how much is out there. Or do we know?
With Bitcoin, you know how much is out there. Okay. It's like 11.7 million or something like that. I don't know if someone could check that.
And then I've got my laptop, but and then how much of it has actually been mined so far?
That's a good question too. Is there 11.7?
Approximately
12 million, 21.
19.6 million Bitcoins have been mined with a maximum supply cap of 21 million Bitcoins.
There you go. So, we just went through what was called the halving of Bitcoin. Oh,
yeah. You got quoted for that, too.
Yes.
Another thing I do is, like, when Brett gets quoted in an article, then my job is to prep a post, submit it to compliance, post it, put it in the newsletter.
Make sure I don't say anything too dumb.
Well, no, I don't actually write the things you say. I just like caption them, basically. It's very, very hard work. Are my contributions 800 or 200 now? 800 or 400?
800.
And plus it takes 10% out of my paycheck initial?
No, you're not doing 10%. You have like maybe 3% coming out of your paycheck for your 401k.
Probably hit the match.
Yeah, hit the match.
Yeah. Thank you, Ross and Danilo, by the way. Legends.
Yeah, I never got a match.
You never got a match? No. Damn. I don't even know how good I got it, bro. That's what's crazy.
And then you have another $800, something like that, coming out of your paycheck to go into your non-retirement and your Roth.
And we're sure about that?
Yeah.
Because they just took 400, and so they're going to take another 400?
I don't know. You got to ask Mia how she set it up.
Shit, bro. I'm done, but I appreciate it, too, in the long run. All right. Quick, final thing for the intro. I want to talk about a market update. Before we get into Bitcoin, I want to talk about the market update. What do we talk about today? Big things on Jensen, right? NVIDIA.
What happened with
Is
Jensen?
Is it still up? Here's the thing about my man Jensen. Power move today. He says, after he's kind of been selling off millions and millions of dollars of NVIDIA stock, he goes, hey, yo, I'm done selling. That's it. And then next thing you know, boom, everyone's buying NVIDIA. The entire market's like gone sporadic today, and people are excited. I know me, American Growth Fund. That means I'm going up.
Yes,
so that's my market update. Let's just get excited. Let's get into it. Let's start talking about Bitcoin. I'm here today with Bitcoin Brett. I'm talking like, you think you know something about Bitcoin? You don't know shit compared to my man right here. This guy's been investing in Bitcoin since it was in the hundreds of dollars, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing is I had a friend that I was going to call, this girl, old friend from high school that was investing in Bitcoin really early. And I thought maybe we could call her. Bro, Brett was investing in Bitcoin way before that girl. You know what I mean? So we don't even need to call her to hear her story. What do I care about her story? I got the OG right here answering my questions, answering your questions. If I had viewers, we'd go live. Try to ask friends about, hey, do you have any questions about Bitcoins? All my friends said this. No, I don't even know what that is. And I said, me neither. So let's get started. Let's go in. Did you bring a Bitcoin or no?
They don't exist.
They don't exist. Question number 2, though. Who created the Bitcoin?
So we talked about Satoshi, right?
Yeah.
Nakamoto.
Right, Satoshi.
There's no one knows who created it at the end of the day. It's a big mystery.
Oh, no way.
And that's one of the things that is a big risk to Bitcoin at the end of the day, right? So there's this ominous figure, kind of the white paper, I want to say it was written around 2008.
You said he's white, or
there's white paper.
What's that?
So white paper is with crypto projects or basically any thesis of you lay out the thesis of the idea. But yeah, so this figure, no one knows who it is. People have tried to make claims to it.
Satoshi.
I mean, people have said it's people like Elon Musk who have had a history in the payment processing sector. One of the founders of PayPal. Craig White is internationally based. He's made claims to it. Courts have struck it down. And a lot of people think he might be dead, actually. So that's another
this could
theory
be a really
as well.
cool movie, though. Is there any script circulating?
There should be a movie about it because it's incredibly interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna write that one down.
And Satoshi owns a large portion of Bitcoins.
Who is Satoshi?
And
is there even a documentary about it?
He's never moved a single dollar out of his account.
Oh, okay. So it's got to be what's the kitty guy's name from that movie?
Roaring Kitty.
Roaring Kitty. Could it be him?
No, not even a chance.
Because he's too poor, or what?
No, there's some certain things that, like, the way that he wrote the white paper and was communicating with people on message boards with cryptography, that they think that he was probably like from England or Australia. The way he was writing was more proper English than how we write it in America. So that was one of the clues.
Could be Harry Potter.
Could be Harry Potter. J.K. Rowling maybe just
she's a good writer, right?
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling. Jesus is technically not dead, but he's technically not alive either, so probably not him. But
Queen Elizabeth.
She did
pass, so it makes sense.
Oh yeah, she's dead, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Damn. Yeah, and I was with you when Trump got shot. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
That was a weird day, but definitely not Ronald McDonald, but he's probably worth a lot.
Satoshi?
Well, I was saying Ronald McDonald because Satoshi's obviously worth a lot.
Is a real person?
Yeah, he founded McDonald's. Grimace is fake though, I'm pretty sure. Sherlock Holmes is British, but but he's kind of a mystery guy. So I feel like, okay, maybe for our movie, let's really brainstorm this. So Sherlock Holmes is the lead investigator to find out who Satoshi is. Twist ending, it was him the whole time. Alex looks enthralled.
You want to see another crazy conspiracy theory? If you type in like Satoshi with like cell phone brands.
Satoshi with cell phone brand.
So if you take together Samsung, Toshiba, Nakamichi, and Motorola. Satoshi Nakamoto.
Satoshi Nakamoto. Oh, he's got a last name too, Nakamoto.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Satoshi Nakamoto. That's cool, and that's a pretty cool name too. But it's also one of those names that's so good it could be fake.
It's more than likely fake.
Yeah. It's kind of like Gerber Kawasaki. It's like,
I felt bad for the people. There were people named Satoshi Nakamoto that were being harassed and tracked down because they thought it was them.
Okay, these people could be cool characters in our film too. So maybe that's like our way quests. In. Yeah. So like, I'm thinking like Act 1, Sequence 1, we open on a guy named Satoshi Nakamoto, but it's not him. He's just being harassed.
Random dude. And
he's like, why the f*** is everyone after me? And then that's kind of our way in to kind of understand the world of Bitcoin.
There you go.
All these people. I'm just going to write down double name. Alex will remind me what that means. Cool. And some more crypto questions. How old is it?
So I think that the original white paper was born around the global financial crisis around 2008, 2009. So if you think about what Bitcoin truly is, it's an alternative monetary system, right? That the government cannot control. Ooh. The government cannot, take your Bitcoins away from you theoretically. That's why
drug dealers are trying to traffic money through it.
Yeah, which is, again, kind of silly, right? Because everything can be tracked. There's since been other cryptography that they use, probably more often that is not as glaring as Bitcoin. But when people first didn't understand it much, they didn't understand how to track the technology very well. And so it did go to a lot of bad things, right? Like the Silk Road was the most popular drug in
the heroin thing?
Marketplace.
Middle
that kid's
East,
still in jail. He did get caught, and the U.S. seized all of the Bitcoin from that. I think that they still have pretty much all of it.
I thought you said they couldn't take it from you.
Well, in this case, they took it from the guy they arrested.
So gay. So it's a freedom thing.
Yeah, it's a way to say F you to the government, right? Because ultimately, why Satoshi kind of wrote this, he was like, look, the government's just printing and printing and printing more and more money, right? And so every day they print money, your dollar that you have in your wallet that you're putting in your investment account gets devalued.
True.
Right? You have inflation, everything gets more expensive.
Okay.
And so one of the thesis of Bitcoin was that it's a inflationary hedge because there's only a finite supply, right, of the 20 million-ish Bitcoin. And so that's why the price theoretically should go up over time as more money is printed for the exchange of that same asset.
Right. And isn't a hedge fund when they're kind of betting against a company, or that's shorting?
A hedge fund can short. That's one of the main reasons they were created.
So what does inflationary hedge mean?
Inflationary hedges are real assets. Okay. So stocks can be a hedge against inflation. Yes, gold is another. Yep, exactly.
Bleach T-shirt.
Probably
technically,
not. Technically, it's
maybe
a real asset. Yes, but
and I also forgot to tell you. Shout out to Steve. Remember that shirt? He ended up giving me $50 for that fucking shirt. So I just want you to know, if you watched the podcast, you didn't really like him that much. He's a good guy. I'm serious. He's a really good guy. One of my favorite people at this company. Also made me rich. So that's just a little bit on inflationary hedges. And that actually brings me to another question. Is Bitcoin just a COVID buzzword, or is it a legitimate wealth building tool?
Well, it was created well before the pandemic.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say that it's necessarily a buzzword, but when everyone was locked inside of their houses, they started trying to figure out how to make money online, right? And that's why everyone was kind of drawn to crypto and stock trading and the boom of Robinhood.
Okay.
We were in the media a lot talking about AMC, GameStop. There's a famous quote I have over Dogecoin, which is a shitty crypto project that,
to the moon or something.
Yeah, has unlimited supply essentially, and I was like, you shouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. Yeah, because that's the truth. Is there's a lot of crypto projects out there, thousands of them, right? And
Ethereum,
I would say 99% of them are probably worthless.
Really?
They, especially this cycle with the whole meme coin thing, it's just anyone can go out and create a crypto project at this point. So you can make an argument for maybe any of the top 10 or 20 market cap coins that they're going to have some type of value.
Yeah, Bitcoin,
in the future.
Solana. I wrote another one down. Yeah. Ethereum.
Yeah. I think Bitcoin is the main guy though. That's what everyone focuses on. That's what has the largest market cap of any coins. And the problem,
but not as much of an upside because it's already well valued.
It depends on how you look at it, right? Okay. We don't know how much it's worth. There's people like Kathy Wood that thinks it's going to hit $1 million over the next decade.
Kathy Wood likes Bitcoin.
She does like Bitcoin.
Wow, they have, that's crazy.
An ETF, yeah.
Okay. Changes my opinion of her.
It's not a wealth building tool, I would say, in a sense. Generally recommend having less than 5% of your investable assets in Bitcoin. So if you have $1,000 in your account, maybe you put $50 into something like that.
And I got $50, right?
Because it's something that can go down significantly. 50, 70, 90+%. Damn. So you have to be okay if you're putting money into crypto or into Bitcoin that you can lose almost all of it. Okay. Like we could wake up tomorrow and Satoshi's wallet could wake up and transfer out a ton of Bitcoin, and that would probably crash the market 50%.
I didn't even get that when you explained that. So the guy that created it is also the biggest whale, and so he could just flip the fucking market whenever he wants.
I mean, if he did that, it would be a significant move in the market.
Wow! But then
it would cause panic.
Yeah, but then it would also open up the greatest potential upside. Just like any stock, when it goes down, that means it can go up even more.
No, because stocks have cash flow, right? So you can measure that value that you're getting as a shareholder in stocks. Bitcoin, I don't know if it's worth 1,000. I don't know if it's worth 100,000. Okay. It's only worth whatever someone else will pay for it. And if that security of Satoshi no longer, being a believer in it. Well, maybe that spills over into other market participants, and maybe people are like, well, I should sell my Bitcoin too if the guy who created it is selling.
Okay. Well, here's what I think I'm not fully understanding, and maybe it's, taking me a year and a half working in finance to understand this. But when you talk about the real cash flow of like S&P stocks, so their worth, from my understanding, is that their worth is kind of determined by shareholders buying and selling it. But there's another way that you're saying this cash flow that can also determine a stock's worth. Yeah. And is that their gains? Is that
it's their those things earnings?
Okay, so obviously this wouldn't happen, but like, let's say a stock doesn't go up or down due to people buying it, but then the earnings could fluctuate the price of the stock as well.
Well, that's what market participants are trying to judge the value on, right? So there's ratios that we use in finance. Like the most simplistic one is called price to earnings, right?
Yeah.
P ratio.
So PEG, right? That's the thing too.
Yeah, that's like one step further.
Price earnings gain
over growth.
Yeah.
So every sector in the market, they grow at different rates. Technology, for example, grows really fast, right? You might have 20% revenue growth in some company. Or Nvidia's case, they grew like by 100% in revenue, right?
Like this year, right?
Yeah. Then you might have companies that's like a utility company, right? Where they may grow earnings at 5% a year.
Okay.
Right. So if you have a company that's in tech, it's going to get a bigger P multiple because they're growing faster. So people are willing to pay more of a valuation to get into that company, versus a slower one is less valuable. So I'll give you an example. Like if you have a company that's in tech, maybe it deserves a 20 PE. They do $5 a share in earnings. You multiply 5 by 20, stock should be around $100. If the stock's trading at 150, probably incredibly expensive. Overvalued. Stock's trading at 80.
We might want to buy.
We might want to look at buying it, right? So there's obviously a lot more that goes into it, but that's a good start.
Okay, so what you're saying about cash flow and earnings, it doesn't directly affect the price of the stock, but it almost does because it's directly affecting the mindset of who's going to buy and sell it.
Yeah, it depends on what theory of markets you believe in. There's inefficient markets and there's efficient market hypothesis, where the efficient market hypothesis says that the stock is worth this because the stock is worth that, and based on all the available information that we have today, this is what the market's valuing it at, so it must be correct, right? I'm not necessarily in that camp. I think that humans are irrational and can be irrational for long periods of time. Like we just went through COVID, right? We saw the largest drop, quickest drop in the history of the stock market pretty much.
Yeah.
Do you think that that was completely rational? Probably not, right? There's a lot of opportunities there that you could have, picked up some great companies at great prices. So when people are irrational is when those opportunities arise, whether it's more expensive or cheaper.
Well, that's interesting, because that brings me back to the thing you were talking about of why, because everyone kind of associates Bitcoin with COVID, but like you said, it was around for over a decade before. What was that thing you were saying of like it was like a real tangible assets, where we talked about like a real estate or gold.
It's a real asset.
What was that called, though?
Real asset.
Oh, real asset.
Cool, inflationary hedge.
Inflationary hedge. That's what I was thinking of. I wonder, just like psychologically speaking, if like Bitcoin grew so much in the pandemic because everything felt so fake, like we were all inside, and so it's like, was it all inflationary hedges kind of going up?
Think about what happened during the pandemic. What did the government do?
Oh yeah, was it a recession or the opposite?
No. What did they do to not cause a recession?
Oh, stimmied us.
They stimmied everyone.
Boys!
Exactly.
Yeah,
so they pumped a ton of money into the economy.
That was lit.
And what happens to real assets? What happened to real estate? What happened to Bitcoin? What happened to gold? If you look at any of those charts, it's up and to the right.
Up to the right. That's good. That means it's more expensive, more valued?
Yeah, because there's more dollars chasing the same assets.
And this is what's crazy, and this is what I want to tell people back home, is I actually got a Snapchat memory today, mid-pandemic, of me and my best friend Aaron and we spent like $400 at like the most expensive weed dispensaries, like of our stimulus money, just like blew it all on weed. And we used to do that all the time. And it's just crazy to think if we would have just taken that stimmy money, bought some Bitcoin like Brett, bought some NVIDIA like Alex, opened up an American index like Mia, high yield savings bonds like Kyle. Any of that I'd be sitting in a way prettier position 4 years later.
Hey, we live and we learn. You're here now.
Look at me now. I'm investing and I smoke way less weed than I used to.
That's good.
And that's like, man, sad to think about, but also I think I'm going up and to the right. So
there you go. Buy Chase stock.
Lifestyle. Buy Chase stock. And for compliance reasons, we're not talking about Chase Bank, just to make that clear. Talking about finding finance.
We're very anti-big bank here.
Really? We are?
Yeah.
Them big banks. That's the thing. We're independent. We're fiduciary. This company's democratizing financial advice.
Bitcoin was created during the global financial crisis, 2008, 2009. Yeah. Guess what else was created?
Gerber.
Kawasaki.
Wow. Because we're here to help people. And we're not going to rip you off like those bullshit bank, whatever.
Yeah.
They talked about that on Future Money. I was just editing some clips about that. They could, they'll tell you better than I can, but. So we talked about how can I buy crypto, and we said that that's called Satoshi something, and that's a small percentage of assets for people with less money.
Yeah, there's different ways you can buy it. The easiest way at this point for most people is to just buy an ETF. There's tons of few companies out there like BlackRock and ARK and different where you could just buy it in your Roth, for example, right?
Really?
I got a little Bitcoin in my Roth.
Nice.
So, that'll grow tax-free for the rest of your life.
Cool.
The native Bitcoiners will tell you a famous saying called "not your keys, not your crypto." So the truest, safest way to own Bitcoin is to buy it and put it in what's called a hard wallet.
Hard wallet.
And this hard wallet is disconnected from the internet, and it's on a hard drive or a ledger. So that's what I have, for example. I have a ledger, put it in a fireproof safe in my apartment that, no one can get to. And without that ledger, no one can transfer my Bitcoin without physically having that hard drive plugged into a computer. So no one can hack my account online or my Gemini or my Coinbase account and just send it out, right? Like I've had clients that this has happened to, where they have a couple $100,000 in Bitcoin and they were attacked in a phishing attack. They clicked on the wrong email. I've had clients that have gotten called saying, hey, this is Coinbase's support. We need to monitor your account. You need to log into this portal. We'll send you a link. You type in your password, boom, gone. They send it and there's no way to get that back. Right. So you can file a police report and that's the best you can do. But most of these people are internationally based in Russia, India, China, wherever they may be. And it's definitely a big problem with decentralization. Right. So the best way to do it is either on a hard wallet, or if you're not comfortable with that, you think you're going to lose a password or anything, hopefully these ETFs will be another good option that have just come into the market over the last 6 months.
Okay.
But, native Bitcoiners will say, well, it's not your keys, it's not your crypto. Like what happens if that custodian or that ETF provider gets hacked and they lose a bunch of it? Yeah. Right. That's kind of out of your control. So that's just a risk that you have to be willing to take if you're not going to put it on your own hard wallet.
So should I buy Bitcoin?
You're young. You got a lot of time. It's an interesting thesis for an investment, right? So I wouldn't go crazy with it. We're talking, again,
5%.
5% is generally a good number that we recommend people. It's not for everyone, though. Like if you're 60 years old and you're living off your retirement and you need all the money in your account, probably not the best investment for you, right? Because we could wake up tomorrow and it could be valued extremely less. And we've gone through these periods of times where it's pulled back, 90%. So think about that $50 you put in, all of a sudden turning into 10 over the next year. Yeah. Right? That's totally possible.
Well, that's the one thing I've learned about Bitcoin volatility is just through editing your articles. Is because every time you're kind of quoted, it's either explaining why it's up or down, whether that's Solana, whether that's Ethereum. It's like, It's not, other stocks I've learned about, Nvidia, Apple, like they go up and they go down, but it's far less volatile where it feels like, for example, so you said, I believe these recent gains were clearly driven by the Fed's decision to lower rates. With lower rates, people are willing to borrow funds and invest their capital into speculative areas of the market like crypto. This general optimism that we are at the end of the rate hiking cycle excited many areas of both the crypto and the U.S. equity markets, and Solana seems to have been a benefactor of that.
That sounded pretty good.
Well written. It's published in Forbes. Go check out Forbes, Brett Sifling.
Shout out to Charles for including my thoughts.
Shout out to Charles, bro. And the thing is, Charles is a good guy.
Charles is a great guy.
He does his homework. Like, he's going to put up the best article and really, help people kind of navigate the whole crypto cycle in a far more efficient way. Okay. We got a couple questions left. Just trying to think. We've got about 10 minutes here. How can I kill it in the most efficient way? Well, the government can't take your Bitcoin. So let's say hypothetically I'm trying to traffic Bitcoin, right? Because I feel like every weed dealer I had in high school or college, now all they say, they just post on their Snapchat story and just say, I want to buy Bitcoin, sell me Ethereum. And now it's because you said the government can't technically take it, but they can still see that you purchased it, which is why it's dumb, because it's still, you can get RICO'd for that.
Look, like in the U.S., it's a lot different, right? Because we have a banking system here. So at the end of the day, you need to be connected to a bank account to get your Bitcoin out, right?
Okay.
So that is what is the catch-all for a lot of criminals when they try to put their Bitcoin in the bank and try to convert it to US dollars, because you can't really spend Bitcoin very efficiently. There's been a few upgrades, like the Lightning upgrade, but like, Bitcoin isn't really made to go into Starbucks and buy a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Right. So in other countries, though, like Venezuela, Brazil, countries that have hyperinflation or governments that don't act in the best interest of the people, it's much more attractive to them, right, than it is here in the U.S. Like, Danilo, he'll maybe tell you sometime of when he was growing up, his mom used to buy like a used car right when she would get her paycheck, because if you didn't buy a real asset, then your paycheck was worth 30% less the next week.
That's crazy.
Right? So like we are very spoiled here in the US that we don't have to generally worry about those things.
We're blessed.
As messed up as our government is, or as messed up as people want to say things are in the media, life is pretty good here in the States compared to most of the world.
And we live in sunny Santa Monica. You live in the, marina. Freaking just giving out 100-inch TVs, it's a wild lifestyle we live. This guy owns a Tesla, by the way, too. Forgot to tell the viewers about that.
Shout out Tesla.
Shout out to Tesla. Alex, what are you thinking about Bitcoin over there? Do you own any?
I'm very impressed with the last 30 minutes of this podcast.
But I almost ate my daily banana, but I was like, you know what? I don't need to do it.
Good job.
Did you feel good? It feels like it's getting kind of boring.
No,
I was trying to think of crazy to say, and then I was like, you know what? Hold it in.
This is what we wanted. Like, you're actually curious. You're actually learning.
Yeah.
Asking good questions.
Well, that's the kind of different is when you're opening up the mind of someone like Brett versus like a Jimmy or Steve. It's like makes it a lot easier to have, adult conversations. It's not just like, oh, what's a rate, or oh, pet insurance. You know what I mean? It's like really kind of getting into it. I feel like
Do you know what like blockchain is actually?
No, I actually had a question. What is blockchain? So that's good.
So like blockchain, you can think of it as kind of like the underlying technology that Bitcoin is built on top of, right?
Sure.
And so once everyone agrees on the transaction, it's added to the block, and it can't be added until everyone agrees.
What does
once
that
it's
mean?
on there, so think about it like you're a kid and you're at school and you're at recess. This was like a few years ago for you, right?
Yeah.
And you and all of your friends are taking track of everything that's happening on the playground. Sally's on the monkey bars.
Yeah, I'm like,
and so everyone has a notebook, your 5 friends, and everyone has to write down Sally is on the monkey bars.
Okay.
And until everyone does that, it doesn't exist. But once all 5 of you write it down in your notebook, it can't be changed. It's there in pen.
Okay. And so who are me and my friends then in the banking system?
So in this case with Bitcoin, it's the miners. So that's why people mine Bitcoin, is to solve a complex mathematical question to agree on that transaction, which is why Bitcoin takes so long to send to someone else, because these computers have to agree on it before it's added to the ledger.
So okay, so how many there's more than 5 miners though.
There's miners all over the world.
And they all have to agree? Like what does agree legitimately mean?
Yeah, so if there's information that comes into the miners saying that, I sent you half a Bitcoin, they're going to look at that transaction and say, did that really happen? And they'll ask their buddy to be like, hey, did that really happen? And the next guy's like, hey, did that really happen? And then they'll be like, okay, yeah, I think that did happen. Let's add it to the chain. And once it's there forever, which is why it's really bad for drug dealers, because everything is there forever. Right. And you can just go look it up.
Okay.
Right.
Well, okay. So wait, how many can anyone become a miner, or is this more like some sort of council that you have to apply
I've thought about mining Bitcoin when we were in the LMU dorms, had free electricity, but that's probably the biggest hurdle is the price of electricity.
Wow.
So every so often the miners have what's called a halving, which is what we just had recently, right? And what a halving means is it cuts the reward that the miner gets for confirming the transaction. So when Bitcoin first started, you might, mine, and if you agree on the transaction, you get a little bit of Bitcoin for yourself as a reward for doing that.
Okay.
So that's how the miners make money, is then they then turn around and sell the reward back as Bitcoin.
Interesting. Because I always thought it was just some sort of algorithm that they were like doing, but literally they're just being sent. Okay. Yeah. Wait. So what are they being sent? So like they just receive something, then they approve it, then they get a percentage of it, and then they sell it back. But what do they receive? And how does that?
It's essentially like Bitcoin will make them solve this mathematical equation that the computer needs to solve. And that's why it takes so much computer power to actually do it. And that's why a lot of people, instead of just using traditional electricity methods, have looked at like renewable energy. So if you notice, a lot of like Bitcoin mining plants will use solar, or they'll be built next to a river and use hydroelectricity, or they'll be in places where it's a lot colder because these computers heat up and it takes energy to cool them down.
Interesting.
So people have gotten really, really creative with like how to lower the costs. And as that halving keeps happening every so often, people have to get more and more creative, right? And ultimately have economies of scale in order to get the same reward or same profit that they were getting before.
And is there ever a point where we're gonna reach the limit of Bitcoin, or is it just gonna keep halving?
I think that it just keeps having. There's got to be an end at some point where it just doesn't make it economically viable to keep mining anymore. I forget what year that's set out to be, though.
Well, for the last 5 minutes, I've just been trying to think, like, we're talking about the miner stuff.
Well, this is also interesting, right? Because like that reward that they get as the miner gets cut in half. Okay. So think about what's happening when that happens. So that miner that normally would go sell, let's call it a full Bitcoin last year. Now they only get a half. So now they're only able to sell a half a Bitcoin. So what does that mean? That means there's less supply coming onto the market every single day.
Greater demand.
Which means there's greater demand for less supply, along with the ETFs, along with governments buying it, companies buying it. So you have this whole
governments are buying it too.
Yeah, there's some. I mean, the U.S. is a holder of Bitcoin. I've seen other countries that have added it to their funds. And
like, what are there different? Do different countries have more? Like, not even just the government, but just citizens of countries have like significantly more Bitcoin holdings than others. Like I would assume America, China.
Yeah, I don't know the data, but I would assume that countries with more economic turmoil and more government issues would probably have a greater population of Bitcoin holders.
Okay.
I think it's Venezuela that has made the Bitcoin a national currency.
Yeah.
Maybe look that up.
I'll look that up. Also, it says by the year 2140, all 21 million Bitcoin will have been mined.
Okay, so by 2140, we'll be dead by then, right?
A
so
miner.
we'll never see what happens when the Bitcoins are mined.
Wait, 2140? Oh, I thought you said
2140.
2040.
No.
Also, El Salvador.
Okay, so it's El Salvador that has,
and that's Mia's heritage, I believe, right?
Yeah, she's got some coffee farms
Salvadorian.
back there.
Yeah.
But they have a
Coffee.
national Bitcoin as current. It's their national currency.
That's
And they even have
crazy.
this city that's Bitcoin City. And so
Wow.
their president has actually accumulated a good amount of Bitcoin. And
El
it's always,
Presidente,
he literally
Bitcoin.
tweets it out. He's like, I purchased 100,000 Bitcoins today. And
That's
everyone goes
sweet.
crazy.
And that's in South America.
Yeah, so it makes sense, right? Where they don't have as good of a monetary system, and the government's not as great, and so this is one idea that their president had to try to get them back on track and be more of a tech hub.
Cool. Well, I know you got to get out of here. I just want to ask. I know the people back home are wondering. You've talked a lot about Bitcoin. We've got Ethereum. We've got Solana. What really distinguishes them as different cryptocurrencies? Other than is it different blockchains?
Yeah. So it's different technologies at the end of the day. If you think of Bitcoin more like digital gold, where it's supposed to be a store of value, that inflationary hedge, things like Solana, which is more of a payment system, has very cheap transaction costs, or you can think of Ethereum like a platform. And this platform is kind of like the Apple App Store, where you can have a bunch of different DApps or decentralized apps on the Ethereum blockchain. And so you can kind of build different projects on top of this platform. And the way that people, basically approve the transaction similar to Bitcoin, that's different. It's a different process.
Okay.
It's called proof of stake rather than actual mining. So it's a little bit different.
Okay. Well, we can probably just get into that next time because my imagination's not necessarily that good that I was really understanding.
That's like all NFTs and stuff. Those are all built on.
I was going to ask about NFTs too. Okay. I was going to bring up the Baker rivalry, see how I can get him on the pod. Do you have any advice how I could get Baker on here? Or is that just keep dreaming?
You should. I think if you rub his head 3 times, a genie pops out and you might be able to ask him.
Really?
Yeah.
I stroked it twice at that LA Kings game. Did you see that when I palmed his head?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you already talked about pet insurance.
Pet insurance.
Maybe about buying a home.
Okay, home buying Baker.
Home buying Baker.
Okay,
he's a married man. He's got a dog. He's living the American dream, as they call it.
We could just redo Steve's episode, but with someone smarter than Steve. That wouldn't be terrible. What else do the people need to know about crypto before we get out of here?
There's a lot of scams, so be careful. Don't invest it into the next project. There's always going to be some new shiny thing that everyone and all of your friends are buying, and they're going to tell you that it's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
Don't listen to them. Most of it is BS, and most of these technologies will fail, so don't get too excited. Bitcoin is going to probably be your best bet for most people that are out there. Again, just be smart. It's not something you want to bet the house on.
Yeah.
It's something you can wake up tomorrow and lose all of it or most of it. Be careful with, how you store it. That's important.
Right. And what is that thing you have called?
A hard wallet.
Hard wallet.
Yeah, hardware wallet.
Hardware wallet.
Ledger.
And is that good for things other than Bitcoin too?
Yeah. You can have other crypto on there. So it's just
crypto.
it's like a safeguard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we learned a lot today, guys. My financial fishies out there. Some people call them my swimmers. We're still kind of figuring out what we want to call the fans. We don't have any fans technically.
I'm your
because we've got one fan there. We've got Alex. Sometimes Mia says she likes the podcast. Other times she says I should be focusing my attention on other works. You know how Mia is. But today we learned a lot. Not only do I have $1,200, not only has this podcast officially been greenlit by CEO Ross Gerber, not only did we have our biggest name guest yet, Mr. Brett Sifling, Bitcoin Brett sat us down and explained to us everything we need to know. And it's interesting. I think my biggest surprise today was that even someone with the title Bitcoin Brett is expressing that we still need to be very smart about how we purchase this. I thought this guy was going to come on and tell me, oh, you should be putting all of your assets into Bitcoin. No. You should be buying as much as possible. I thought he was going to literally tell me that this was the best invention since. But that's not true. We learned a lot today. And even Bitcoin Brett wants us to be smart about how we purchase this. The guy's got Bitcoin in his name, and he's still telling us to keep our assets around 5%. Let's be smart about this. Get you a Jigamabob, the FireSafe key, or what is it called?
Hardware wallet.
Get yourself a hardware wallet, and then put it in a FireSafe.
Fireproof safe.
Fireproof safe.
There you go.
And don't tell people where you live. I came in here, I didn't even know what a Bitcoin really was. I didn't even know blockchain was. And I tried not to do a lot of research because I want to ask the questions that you are scared to ask. And I'm not scared to ask them. And that's really why my heart is in this podcast, because I'm not scared to look dumb in front of all these very smart people. This was a big get. I'm not guaranteeing we're going to get someone as smart as Bitcoin Brett on the next episode, but I'm going to try. And check out Get Invested, by the way. Let me plug that. Director of Get Invested.
GetInvested.me. Visit, fill out a contact form.
Come talk to Brett.
Steve will call you.
Come talk to Steve. Come to our happy hours.
Yeah. Bodega Wine Bar.
Crazy happy hours. Bodega Wine Bar. They're good times. And you know what? We'll talk about Bitcoin, but we're going to talk about how to invest it safely.
Yes, sir. And I'm proud of you for asking these questions. You're on the right path, man.
Invest, don't gamble, bro.
Invest, don't gamble.
Time beats money.
There you go. You got it.
All I got to say, one final thing. Get pet insurance. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
But trouble on my mind. That's the attitude that got my ass off the sidelines. You either ride pine and cry about playing time, or you play the game.